Hi everyone, welcome back. Apologies if I look a little bit bleary-eyed, but it's only 7:30. It's Saturday the 25th of April. I want to give you a quick look around the plot. I've done some landscaping work, if you want to call it that, a little bit, and things are starting to move on in the growing department as well. So I'll show you what progress we're making. Hi, here we are in between the shed and the working greenhouse where we do all the sowing. That's just to the right there, as you can see. And at last I've tidied up this area. It's been through quite a few incarnations, this corner of ground. We've had old baths here with courgettes and carrots growing in them. We've had it covered with black plastic and it's been a hard standing area, but it was always covered with weeds. So I've taken the black plastic up and I've made good use of some of the slabs that were left over from the path laying that we did over the winter. And it's taken about 13 2x2 heavy duty slabs. It's a little bit bigger than it looks from this vantage point, but I've also used some of the slabs that we took up from the original path on the original allotment. Again, this was always a bit of an eyesore at the side of the greenhouse. So we could use this now for a cold frame, but I've got other plans. And those plans are to have a nice sit down with a nice cup of Yorkshire tea. I saw this old furniture on an abandoned plot on the site, and well, I've repurposed it. And it might not look like much, but it's actually really comfortable and it's sturdy. I've given it a wash, but I think it needs another one. Put some nice cushions on and we're good to go. And it's somewhere for my wife and my daughter to sit if they come down as well. Anyway, enough talk of relaxation. Let's have a look at what's in the ground. And the overwintering onions have really started to bounce back. The Japanese onions in front of us are really thickening up now. There are lots of gaps and we might only get maybe a dozen out of the 40 or so that went in. But they'll still be welcome. And the same can be said of the shallots as well. These are the Germore variety and they look okay as well. About a week ago I noticed that the peas and the munch too were breaking ground, and I've watered them every day, and we've had really hot weather, as you know, about 6 weeks now without any rain. But look how they've come on in this last 5 or 6 days. They're already about 2.5 inch in height, and they've nearly all germinated and come through, so I'm really pleased with those. And I've also got the double row covered up with hoops and netting. It's not the prettiest hoop and netting that you'll see, but it'll certainly do its job. So they're doing really, really well. I'm really pleased with those. And look at the potatoes, how well they've done over the last 2 weeks. They were just breaking ground when I showed you them in my first update a couple of weeks ago, and they look marvellous now. I'm really pleased with them. It's always reassuring when you see your potatoes starting to put on a head of steam. 11 pots in this greenhouse. This is a second greenhouse. The ones across the back are the ones that I planted first. I think that was about the middle of March, and the others followed about 10 days later. 2 varieties in here, Charlotte and Kestrel, and I think I did a couple of pots of each time I planted. They do need to move outside now as well, and the nights have been quite mild, haven't they? So they should be okay. And I can always pop them back in if frost is threatened. Remember the elephant garlic bulbils that I showed you? Well, as I promised, I've transplanted them into this big builder's bucket, and we've got 7 plants in there. We'll leave them there for another year now, and then we might have some garlic next year. Comfrey, amazingly, is almost ready for its first cut. There was no sign of it a month ago, and it's already about, well, close to 2 foot high. And it's got its flowers on as well, and they're just opening up. So we'll be giving that another week or two, and then making the first cut, steeping it in water for 4 weeks, and that should be ready just in time to feed our tomatoes when the tomatoes are forming the second truss perhaps. I normally plant out my tomatoes into the final pots around the second week in May, and they're going to the greenhouses at that point. Another 2 or 3 weeks after, they'll probably have the second truss on, and that's when we'll start feeding. So we'll cut this, steep it in water, as I say, for a month, and we'll have our own free tomato feed. But what I'll probably do in the course of the next week is remove all the flowers, because I don't want the flowers dropping onto the soil with the seed, because this is a variety that spreads its own seed. It's self-fertile, so we don't want that. As you can see, it's gradually migrating across this little patch of ground here, so we want to stop it in its tracks. Right, so we'll move on. Looks like it might be a good season for blueberries as well. It's been in flower and it looks like there's going to be a lot of fruit, but it's going to be a battle this year trying to stay on top of the couch grass, because as you can see, it's coming up all over the place. I really cleared it out when I filled this bed, but it's come back with a vengeance, and I keep trying to take it out, but you can see just how bad it is. And I know I'm not the only person that struggles with the couch grass. It's one of those things, short of removing the plants, emptying the bed and digging down about 2 feet, it's always going to be there. Just have to try and stay on top of it. But important thing is that we're going to have blueberries, and I'm really looking forward to them this year. We're on the new half plot. I keep calling it that, but it's about 2 years old now. We've got 3 beds here, as you can see, and the first bed had the overwintering elephant garlic, and I'm really pleased with this. This is one thing that seems to have benefited from the wet winter that we had, and I'm not certain how many there are in here, but there are 4 wide and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about a dozen in length, so about 48 plants, and they all look really healthy. They do get a little bit bleached out sometimes when you get a lot of rain, but they bounce back, and I think they're greening up a little bit, and yeah, I'm really pleased with them. I'll show you around the 2 working greenhouses while I'm at it, and you can see that another week and the onions have grown about another 3 inch, I would say, 3 or 4 inch. These are ready to plant out now. They've got good tops and they'll have decent roots. So that's my main job today. It's quite overcast today, and so I'm going to take advantage of the milder weather and not feel quite so browbeaten, and I'll get these planted today. Cucumbers are doing okay. It's been so hot, the weather though, that I've had to take them out of this little grow room at the back because they were wilting a little bit, and they do like the high humidity, but not too high, and not too high a temperature either for that matter. And as you can see, I have lost 2 of these plants, and they were lost to a very evasive slug. I hunted him down for about 3 days until I found him, and he's no more, but we've still got enough cucumbers to keep us happy. If we look in the grow room at the back, you can see that I've been busy sowing as well. We've got sunflowers here. I think we've got 4 varieties of the taller sunflower: Red Sun, Autumn Beauty, Italian White and Giant Single. And then over to the right, I think we have about 2 varieties, I think there are, of dwarf sunflowers. And these are Teddy Bear, which is quite a frilly bushy one, and Pacino. There are a few no-shows, but enough to keep us happy. And it looks like it might be a good year for sweet corn as well. I got 2 packets of sweet corn, and this variety is called Early Bird, and I just bought what I could get my hands on because seed was in short supply. But the germination rate's really good this year. There are 24 in each tray, and I think out of 48 I've got 39, so I'm really pleased with that. and there might still be a few that come through. But I tend not to plant these too early, because I want the weather to be settled when I plant them out, so that they, they don't get knocked back too much. But yeah, they all look okay, don't they? And at the end of the coming week, I'm going to plant the second packet of seed that I've got, and I think that's the variety Lark. So I plant them in different spots on the site, and they're far enough apart not to cross-pollinate or anything like that. So yeah, that's the sweet corn. We'll just take a fleeting look around the main greenhouse. As you can see, all the tomatoes are doing really, really well. We've had mild weather during the night, and they've been covered up by bubble wrap as well, but they're about 4-inch high now, doing really well. Got a nice colour, really happy with those. Just another couple of weeks and we'll have a major day of planting out into pots. The mixed oriental leaf, that's ready for a cut, and I'm hoping to take some of that for tea tonight. The red and green leaf's not far behind, maybe another week and we can start and cut that. All of the brassicas have germinated, so I'm really pleased with that, and I'll be doing some pricking out tomorrow. Beetroot here, Burpee's golden, and to the left there, Bolt Hardy. I've been hardening those off during the day and they're ready to go out. Down on the floor we've got some purple top Milan turnip, that's ready to be planted out as well. The cabbage leaf there to the left, that needs to stay where it is at the moment. It will be hardened off during the day, but it's only been transplanted about 5 days, and I need it to be a little bit sturdier than that before I plant it out. So that's the main greenhouse. I need to move on now and get a spurt on and plant some of these things out. Hi, well, it's time to prepare the ground ready for the onions. We've got about 70 or so to go in, and I've just started to turn the soil over, and it looks quite dry on the top because we've had about 6 weeks of sunshine and no rain to speak of. But over winter about a foot of well-rotten manure went onto this bed, and as I've turned the soil you can see just how nice it is. I don't even need to put my foot on the soil, I can just do it by hand. So I'm going to carry on now, and then you'll see me at work, and then we'll come back when it's all dried, we'll rake it, and then we'll plant the onions. Okay? So as you can see, although this is a dug plot, it's not that difficult to turn the soil. Although it looks dry, it's not baked hard. And if I take the camera off now and show you close up, you'll see just how nice the soil is. So this is the soil in its undug state, where it's dried over the course of the last 6 weeks. And this is the soil as it's turned. Now you would expect this to be quite dry and clayey, but it's not. It's lovely and soft and wet, and that's the benefit of using well rotten manure. And we really heaped it up in this area. It was about 1 foot deep, and it was probably about 3 or 4 months old when it went on in the autumn. And the worms have broken it up, lots of worms in here, and a delight to turn over. And we always add copious amounts of manure to the beds that take the onions, and if you look back at previous season's onions, you'll see that the onions really do benefit from a really rich soil, and it should hold the moisture as well. The top will dry off again, but it'll stay moist underneath. So I'm going to carry on now, and I'll show you when we're finished. Catch you later. Well, that's it done. It's an area of 13 feet by 8 or 9 feet, and it's taken all of 40 minutes to do it. So it's not really digging as you and I know it. It really does show the benefit of having plenty of well rotten manure. And although it was round the top, turned it over, and it's lovely and moist now. I'm going to let this air overnight, and then I'll rake it tomorrow, and then we'll put in the remaining onions. I've also done a little bit of digging at the other side of the netted hoops there. As you can see, the first flat bottomed drill of Jaguar pea are coming on really well now. They're already about 2 inch or so high, so I thought I'd turn over an area here in preparation for a second drill of peas. I'll let this air as well, rake it, and then we'll put some more of the Jaguar pea in here. Well, I'm just about done for today. Pizza for lunch today, homemade pizza. Normally served up about 1:15, so I'm going to get a little bit of lettuce, and we'll have that as a side dish. And there it is, a nice bag of mixed oriental leaf lettuce, and I've taken about 1/4 of it, so there's plenty more to go at. And if you look at the area that I've trimmed the lettuce from, you'll see that there's lots of new leaf growing as well, because I always put plenty of seeds in. But that's lunch for today, and maybe tea as well. Catch you later. Hi everyone. Well, I'm going to try and wrap this update up now. It's Monday the 27th, and as you've probably gathered, I didn't get the onions in on Saturday as planned. I actually did them yesterday on Sunday. And I've now got 1, 2, 3, 4 groupings of 3 rows with between 18 and 20 onions per row. So we've about 210 onions there, and I didn't put them all in. You can't see them, but up to the left of the greenhouse there, the odds and sods, the little ones that had not really grown very much in the way of tops, there's about 30 of them. They've been planted just there in that little spare bit of ground, and they've all had a good watering. I think I've watered them 3 times since they were planted out yesterday, because it's been so hot. We were promised rain today, weren't we, later this afternoon, but as you can see, looking up at the sky, there's no suggestion of rain at all. So hopefully it'll rain overnight. We've been told that we'll get rain maybe tomorrow on Tuesday, possibly Wednesday and even Thursday, and we really desperately need it, because a lot of the beds that I've uncovered in recent weeks are now baked and really dry. I did also manage to plant a few other things out, as you can see up there. I'll show you now, just to the right of the mower there, those two beds. On the right here, I chose to plant out the Burpee's golden beetroot, and I've got 36 plants there, and I moved these mini cloches off the broad beans because they're established now, and they really need to be covered up, the brassicas, no matter what variety, because if you don't, the rabbits and the pigeons will make short work of them, as I've learned from bitter experience. But the cloche wasn't quite big enough to cover them all, so we'll call this an experiment, shall we? Because in previous years, any that have been uncovered have been pecked away pretty quickly, and the rabbits are about as well, so we'll see, won't we, how well they fare. And if they get eaten, then we'll just put some spring onion or something like that in the little bit of space there. And to the left, I planted out this afternoon the purple top Milan, and I think we've got 24 plants here. Well, they're actually plant groupings. They're about 3 seed in each module unit, so they were multi-sown, and I've watered them twice today because they'd started to wilt a little bit. But as I say, if we get the promised rain, then everything should be okay. So that's all but my bolt hardy beetroot, and I'll probably wait until it's rained before I plant those out. The next bed's going to be having sweet corn, but I want to top dress it first of all with some well rotten manure, and I think I've got enough just to cover that one bed. And I've yet to sow this sweet corn. I've done one batch, and that's going to go on another bed, but the sweet corn for this will be sown this week, probably on one of the rainy days, and hopefully we'll get 2 crops. So that's it for now. Sorry if it's been a little bit long, this update. It's probably 22 or 23 minutes or something like that, and it's time for me to head off home now. So we'll just zoom in. Oh, we are zoomed in, I'm sorry. I'm going to zoom in and show you the horse over there in the distance, but I think you can see it. You've seen enough horses on this channel. So that's me done for this update. Thank you very much for watching and commenting and subscribing if you're a new subscriber. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Okay, take care. Bye.